This is the second part of accessibility, and it talks about technical setups and language translations. For example, some people might have older browsers that they didn't update on their system. Maybe their computer doesn't update to the latest software because it's very old, or they're having low bandwidth, which happens to all of us. Also, people have so many different viewports. They might even be using very old phones that you still need to have some kind of way to access your website. You don't want to exclude them. But most of the time, yes, people have low connection speeds. They might not be loading all of your pictures, for example, in time or fonts. And if they have old browsers, that can happen because they might be working for, let's say, a financial institution which installed a firewall that doesn't allow them to update the software. And they might be on data plans on their phone where they cannot download a lot of data, like large images, where they block it so they don't have to bloat their bill at the end of the month if they downloaded all this information. So for those people, you want to install ways that they can still read what's on the screen. Here I used an example. I tried to shop at Rakuten. It's an Asian store, and I used Google Translate for the languages. But a lot of the images have Asian characters that are written into the image, so Google doesn't pick up on that translation. And for me, I'm lost at navigating through this website, so I couldn't buy anything there. So also you need to consider how it would look to people with visual disabilities and maybe auditory, that they can't hear the videos that you're playing. Motor skills, if you have very small buttons to navigate through, especially on the phone, might be hard for someone to reach while they're driving or while they're on a train. And cognitive also for websites that use language, especially for people of other languages, you might be considering looking over your copy and making sure that this is easy for your audience to understand. It starts with a clean HTML. Wikipedia is famous for having this contents bar, so people with screen readers can access the content. Yeah, you see the content on the bottom here, and if you look in the HTML, you can easily see that this content is very accessible. For example, you need clear instructions in forms. If you have a star in this example, it might not be immediately clear to everybody what that means. If you just have the room, you could type out the word required so that people don't have to go back and have error codes that they don't understand. Also, breadcrumbs are a good way to navigate through a site, especially if you entered it through a Google search or you got distracted and left a window open and you don't know how you got there. Before you publish your website, you might want to run it through a couple of tools. There are plenty of website tools that can check if your website is accessible. And for example, one of those tools is a color blindness checker. You can look over your buttons and see if the contrast is high enough for anybody to read it. My friend Thomas, I think we had an interview coming up, or we already had it. He developed a typeface called Lexand. It is designed to improve reading proficiency. You want to avoid icon fonts. They're pretty and very easy to use, but they don't have the description that an image could have, that a screen reader could pick up on, because it's just a piece of code. It doesn't tell the screen reader what it means. Instead, if you have images, you could add an alt description. So in case somebody isn't able to see this picture, you could still communicate the meaning of it through this alt text. Try to avoid linking to PDFs because they won't translate and screen readers won't pick up on them either, so they're kind of a hidden content. And you can use transcripts and subtitles for people. Maybe they have trouble of hearing, or maybe they can't have the audio on because they're in a loud, noisy office, or they might be a speaker of other languages. They might have trouble to pick up on different accents of people speaking. So if you have subtitles, it definitely enhances their accessibility. And before you launch everything, of course you want to test it, because it might not be very immediately clear how accessible your website is. So this is the wrap-up for accessibility. If you can improve accessibility and include everybody, it makes it also a better and more immediate. So this wraps up the accessibility of websites. I think this is this wraps up the accessibility of websites. If you can improve that part and include everybody, it really makes the experience better, not just for people with disabilities, but for everyone.